On this episode of the Tech Talk, we're going to go over Google's recent decision to change their sideloading policy. This has had a transformative effect in the Android community, causing a lot of buzz and conversation because there has always been this comparison between Google's Android operating system and Apple's iOS, and Google's Android has always been seen as the more open platform. So this policy change is having a drastic effect on what makes them an open platform. So let's get into it. Well, it looks like Google has dropped a bombshell on everybody just this past week. They made some decisions regarding the way they're going to verify app developers now, and that's having a huge impact on sideloading. Now, I think it's important to be clear that sideloading in the concept of itself is not going away completely, but it seems to be that there is now going to be a restriction in the ability to sideload based on the developer's ability to verify themselves through Google. So this is the primary thing that Google is talking about. They're talking about where they want to be able to verify that the developer is legitimate before they allow them to either put their app on the official Google Play Store or allow them to use the sideloading process for installing their apps. Now, this has caused a lot of uproar within the Android community. A lot of them are not fans of this. There is this accusation, if you will, towards Google that this is not really about security, but more about control and not allowing that freedom to basically do what you want and not have to worry about the overhead that Google has not had in the past. And there's also a financial element that they're also saying is part of this, where it's another way for they can make more money by forcing them to go through their security and verification process. So there's all kinds of back and forth going on right now. The president of the Google ecosystem has noted that sideloading is not going away. It's just that the way that they're going to verify developers is what's changing specifically. And so, but that has not put any of the Google Android fans at ease. There's been a lot of uproar about this. You know, people feel like it's more leaning more towards iOS style. And as you know, with Apple and their products, they're extremely strict on App Store verification. You have to go through their process, at least in North America. I know there's been some changes recently in Europe with some of their laws that they put into place. And so it's been forcing Apple to have more openness over there. But here in North America, it's completely restricted to the App Store. You have an iPhone here in the United States and in North America, you can only use the App Store to download and install apps on your device. And so there's a lot of changes that are happening now that seem to lean towards kind of heading in that direction. And so there's been a lot of concern in the Android community. And so this backlash is going to be interesting. We're going to really see how this goes. Now, the other aspect of this too is the dates. Right now, the date for this is not till I believe it's September 2026 when I looked at the article here, and I'll post this article that I pulled this information from in the description below. And so right now there's no changes. Right now everything continues as is, and also from that 2026 period, it's only being rolled out in limited countries around the world. It's not even happening here in North America yet. Now the rollout to worldwide, where that includes North America, is going to happen in late 2027. So it's not a matter of if, but when at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens because Android has always been known as that open platform. Like there's always that capacity to do what you want with the Android platform, be able to make it however you want it to. It's known as the customizable operating system. And this change is seemingly closing the door on that in a number of ways. And so now I can see some side to it. There is some element of making sure there's less malicious software, malicious app installations out there. So I do see, in a sense, some upside to that, but it comes at the cost of allowing that openness to continue. And so I think there is definitely a concern, and a valid concern, for those that do sideload, that don't look at those, that don't use those malicious apps and are very careful and do their research and check and make sure that they're sideloading the right type of apps. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Google implements this and how the reception is going to be with the developers, to see if there's a decline in the number of apps that come in because of this. Because I'd imagine a lot of people really enjoy being able to install apps that they normally cannot install because it's not available by region, and so they go to the website, they download it instead that way. There's some other theories too about why Google is doing this, but that's a back and forth that can go for a while. So we'll just focus on the fact that this is a change that's happening and it's coming. It's just not happening right now, but people are upset about it, and rightly so. You're used to a flow of doing things, and now it's changing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next in this area. There's also something that Google is doing as well. And in this article, let me see, they noted a new feature. It's going to be called the Android Developer Verifier. So instead of using their Play Protect program, which is what they've been using to make sure that the apps on the Play Store are protected. They're going to be using this new system called the Android Developer Verifier. And so this new app is going to be responsible for validating whether an application package is associated with a verified Android developer. So this is part of that change in the policy that they're going to be implementing to verify the developers and make sure that they're legitimate. So there's a lot of changes coming. So it's going to be interesting to see how developers that are currently not using the Google Play Store to put their apps on, to see how they respond to this. I think there's going to be some pushback, but at the end of the day, Google is a very dominant force. They're extremely large, and so I think there's going to be compliance. I think there's going to definitely be some negative reputation with this, but at the end of the day, I do see them seeing this through over the next few years. So we'll see what happens, how that's going to be perceived. But I think that there's going to be a huge change in the perception of Android versus iOS because of these changes. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Do you guys sideload apps on your devices? I've only done it a couple times. I'm not really a big sideloader. I used it, when the whole, if you guys are familiar with the Epic versus Apple and Google situation where Apple and Google removed Epic's apps off of the stores over the charging of fees on their app stores and everything. And so at least on the Android side, you could sideload Fortnite onto your phone by going to their website directly and installing it. So they would technically be okay because they are a verified developer. So that would be an example, though, of what sideloading would be, where just basically instead of going into the App Store, you go to their website and download it directly from there. So all that to say is, do you guys sideload? Because I also did look at some statistics, and it really isn't that common for a lot of people in general, the general public, to sideload. That's definitely more of a niche. Now, I did find statistics that said that the guess right now is that 70 to 80% of people have at least sideload once in the time that they've had an Android. So I don't see this really impacting the majority of people. I think most people are going to be just fine. They're going to use their device as normal. It's just going to be another day, but that audience, maybe they're people that YouTube and that's all they do. They sideload, or they have content that's focused on that specifically. This is going to probably have some impact on them. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, let me know if you guys do sideload. I'm really curious about that, and what your thoughts on this are, your opinions. Do you see this as a good thing? Is this something that Google should be doing, or this is something that is going to have a huge negative impact down the line on the community? So thanks for hearing my thoughts on this. Found it to be really interesting and just seeing that chatter that's happening in the Android community. So if you like this video, hit that like button, and then also subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and you'll see more content coming in on technology. Love talking about this stuff. So thanks for hearing me out today on this. Don't forget that notification bell as well, so that way when new content comes out, you guys get notified and you'll be able to see it. So thanks for hearing me out today. I appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to the next topic to discuss with you guys. So thanks for coming to my Tech Talk, and I'll talk to you guys soon.